3, 2, 1.
What's up, Net Soldiers? I'm Net Alliance here, joined with my friends
BigPeif24,
Cykotech,
and today we're going to be pitting up episode 7 and Rogue One, and we're going to see which film is actually the best. So if you guys have your personal opinion of which one's better, let us know in the comments below. If you think we know what we're talking about, which we always do, clearly.
we have it. We're on YouTube.
Make sure to check out other podcasts. There will be a link right up here or up here. It's one of those. Somewhere. You'll see it.
Right here.
So you can check out other podcasts. This is actually the first time you've seen our faces. So we're actually recording. I got a new mic, so you can see all of us. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. So come with us along with the journey, and we'll see which is better: Star Wars Episode 7 and Rogue One going at it. And we will see. We will decide the victor which one's better, and we'll see if Disney actually knows what they're doing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So without further ado, let's get to. For our first round, we're gonna have special effects. So right from the start, which one would you say off the top of your head is better? Like, do you think?
Better special effects, I would have to go with The Force Awakens.
And why is that?
Well, the huge Death Star that they made, having to suck in the suns, all the graphics that went into that.
Yeah, the Star Killer.
The Star Killer.
Death Star
Star Killer. They keep making new ones. They're basically the same thing.
It'll be back in the ninth one.
Yeah.
It'll be something new.
Yeah, there'll be another one. Just even bigger.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, okay. Star Destroyer. All the effects that went into it. All right, all the little details it had. The sucking into the suns. The explosions, the planets blowing up, all that. All those space effects, that took a lot of CGI, a lot of special detail, a lot of different lighting and different things that it needed. Rogue One, I would say, and the biggest thing that they had that was special effects was near the end.
Yes,
most of the special effects were just near the end.
And stuff,
and the big explosion at the end, and then the lightsaber at the end. Look at all the lightsabers.
Yeah.
Think of all the lightsabers they had in that one too. With Force Awakens, they had many different lightsaber battles, and I mean that takes a bunch of CGI and stuff like that. I mean, just, you explain that to me how they deal with the lightsabers. Plus, you have to take into the fact of all the they used a lot of blasters in Rogue One, but in The Force Awakens, they use a lot of the Force and lightsabers, which I think use more special effects.
Yeah, they can be hard to make. Lightsabers take forever.
Yeah, because you got to go frame by frame.
A lot of people don't realize how long they take to do.
I mean, if you're just talking about how good the special effects were. I mean, overall,
which one impacted you most?
No, The Force Awakens, definitely.
Okay.
It impacted you.
Well, I would have to actually say Rogue One, where they first tested that. Jeddah, where they tested Death Star, and it's they got that big giant explosion coming out the ground, and it's just like a giant wave of Earth.
That's true. That's a good effect. That was good.
And
I remember that. Okay, but yeah, there was that, and then the ending explosion. That was only two big ones.
But when they're the little fight scenes with the blind guy, or when they're on the forest planet where they're going to assassinate the guy, and they're doing all those little battles, they got all those little special explosions, debris flying. It's the little stuff that really brings the movie out. I feel like it's a higher quality than it is in Force Awakens.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It does I'd say the Rogue One's special effects, they're more grounded.
They're more and it's just more little stuff that adds up to one big picture.
Yes. I can see that. Okay, so you said Force Awakens, you say Rogue One. Honestly, I think overall, although when it comes down to the bigger special effects, all that stuff, they're both really good. They're both great.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. They're both good, yeah.
But when it comes down to it, I gotta give it to Rogue One. And the reason why I'd give it to Rogue One is because I think that although they're both good with their bigger special effects, I think The Force Awakens, they took a lot of CGI liberties in like the closer up stuff that could have been done with prosthetics. Do you know what I mean? Even that, what was that Plunk guy? You know, like the guy who was mean to Rey. The guy who was doing all this stuff. Yeah, he was in the suit, and they added like the little special effects, and it's like the special effects they added on him made it look less real. Do you know what I mean? Like it's when movies kind of like the thing from Jurassic Park, like they knew they could do it, they never asked if they should do it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like it comes down to that with type of special effects. Not only that, that's just one example of the movie when they do like these little special effects that they didn't really have to do, but they did them anyways. Essentially like I feel like Maz's special effects, like, you know, Maz got out of the little girl.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
She was a little meh. You know what I mean? She was a little meh. I think with now you can say the same thing about Rogue One's characters. Tarkin. You know how Tarkin was made out of like CGI essentially.
Yeah, to make him look younger with the same actor.
No, because the actor is dead. Like he's gone, right? So
Oh.
what they did was they remade him using another like a lookalike, and they just like
CGI'd over.
essentially, yeah, they brought him back to life. And for me, when I was watching in the regular movie theater, it looked kind of meh. And the first thing you see him, it's kind of, you can tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, Leia at the end, they didn't do too good with that. I'd say but that's probably like the one negative.
See, that's the thing that bothered me though. Like, I mean, the way you explained it was like which one like impressed you more and had better ones. What impressed me and had to me, you know, better CGI graphics was like the lightsabers and the explosions and the little, like there's a lot of little things in The Force Awakens too, with him hitting, like even when they sliced down the tree bark, you actually saw like it cut in half and fall over. It was pretty cool, you know. Not to mention, like, I'm sorry, there were a couple things in Rogue One that really bothered me. First of all, the Leia thing that bothered me. That bothered me.
That bothered everybody.
Yeah,
there was more. There's more though.
But here, that might be the only like really just like meh. You know, Tarkin they did pretty good. The first scene
they didn't
was a
need
little
to
clunky,
do that though.
But after that first scene, when you see him every other time, he looks real. You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
but
I gotta give it that. But here's the
that's
thing.
fine
Though.
though.
My main thing besides Maz, besides Plunk, the Rathtar, the Rathars. Do you know the Rathars? You know that's this thing. Like you guys don't remember who the Rathars. You don't remember who the Rathars are. It's that forgettable. It's all that money thrown into the special effects for those things, and they were so dumb. Okay, so I'll explain what the Rathars are to you guys. The Rathars were those creatures that Han Solo had on his giant clunking ship that he had. Remember? They're like, they released the Rathars.
Oh. Now I remember.
Like those things were so ugly, and not that they were ugly. Like they were ugly creatures.
Yeah,
they were meant to be ugly, but the CGI was ugly.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't clean with those things. So that's probably my main thing.
That scene was actually probably forgettable anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a clunky scene. That didn't have to be.
It didn't need to be there.
But that's one of the examples of like using CGI when it doesn't really need to be done. Now, of course, that was more of like a story point to get our story moving. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like, hey, here's
Han Solo. Okay, now we have to get you guys on the Millennium Falcon and roll around, and then we can do a fan fiction of A New Hope. But
now that you mention it, the
In my
Rathars,
opinion.
I totally forgot about those. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that was actually I remember that whole scene now that you said it.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about it, like, wow, totally forgot about those. Like I forgot about that CGI effects, like how horrible it was.
yeah, it was.
I totally forgot about
It was
that.
a little skipped over. So I mean, I think with that, like you don't see that in Rogue One.
Yeah.
There wasn't like that scene that was like, oh god. Besides the Leia thing, but the Leia thing was
I
more
know.
of like
I just
kind of
couldn't let that
forgivable
go.
because that's like
That was
newer
annoying.
technology they're trying to push, so that you can kind of forgive that. Where like
Yeah, but
the
they didn't need
Rathar
to.
was
They didn't
like,
need to do that though. Like you said, like you and I both explained, like they could have just got a lookalike actor and put her in there. We know she's dead.
They could've.
We get it. But
Well, no, she wasn't dead
She
yet.
wasn't dead yet. Though.
Well, no.
But she was still old.
she was
Yeah,
still
yeah.
old though.
And
Yeah.
they like needed to make her look like she was at the beginning of A New Hope.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
So like they weren't left with many options for that. Did they use the same actor, or they just use a lookalike and CGI over it?
They used a lookalike, and then they used like a scan of her previous pictures, like when she was younger, and then they like modeled the.
So they used it to look
face.
like
essentially what
that.
they did with Tarkin, the same thing.
Okay, yeah.
But the thing is, like, I feel like that was skipped over. But when it comes down to it, I gotta give Rogue One the better special effects. Like, essentially, when like the ships are crashing into the what's that called? The shield.
Oh yeah,
shield
that
thing,
yeah
that was really good looking. Like
Yeah,
that was crispy. That was crispy looking.
yeah, like you could see the look of the guy's face as like he's zooming into it.
Yeah. So okay, so Rogue One, Force Awakens. Okay.
Yep.
So Rogue One won that round, won the first round. So there we go. We'll add a point to Rogue One. I'm going to put the Rogue One down there, Force Awakens down there. So we got Rogue One, added a point to that. So with that said, let me know, comments below, which one do you guys think has the best special effects? Also, you can vote up here, so go ahead and vote. All right, now for round 2, we have the score, the soundtrack, the way the sound effects, essentially everything. Rogue One, Force Awakens. You start this time, Psycho.
I'm going to be honest, like the music didn't really stand out to me in either of the films, but it would probably have to be Force Awakens.
Well, essentially, The Force Awakens has the exact same composer as the first 6 films.
Right.
John Williams. You know what I mean? He's a legend.
And John Williams,
most known out of all of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 'cause
you can't compete with him, essentially.
Yeah, because the music you have when Rey grabs the lightsaber, it's just, and it's full of that like flashbacky, nostalgia stuff. Like it links it in to the rest of the Star Wars films.
I would say so.
And that's probably the like.
I mean, Michael's good. Michael's the guy who directed Rogue One. He's good, but essentially, I felt like so you would say The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd say The Force Awakens too. I think The Force Awakens it was able to essentially take what the past films did, right, and it kind of did its own thing, but it still paid homage to the past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It still sounded good. Where I feel like sometimes with all the Michael score was good, I would say that there were some times where I was kind of like, the music was about to get there and then stopped, and it was like, what like, even the opening sound, like the opening song is like, dun, 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 dun. It's like, no, keep going, keep that going, you know what I mean? I felt that, I could hear it in the song, in like actual score, and I thought that in my head actually when I was watching the film for the first time, I thought, where'd that go? Like, where's that triumphantness?
Yeah, I remember,
I missed it.
Yeah, I remember sitting there in the theater, I was like, wait, this isn't like a Star Wars opening where like it just like keeps getting louder and louder.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to make his own thing, and I think he didn't do a bad job. But I do think that
like
you can't compete with John Williams. You know what I mean? So I would say John Williams, and I'd say The Force Awakens. What would you say?
Well, I agree with both of you guys.
So The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, but my reasoning is like not just because he's really good at his job. I mean, you're right about that, but when it came down to Rogue One, I just wasn't impressed with the sound effects. I mean, for a movie where you said it had better special effects, the explosions I would thought would be more dramatic. I mean, don't get me wrong, the special effects made it look really great, but the sound effects were just kind of they didn't do him justice. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they didn't make me feel like that actually happened. Like,
even okay, now this isn't the score essentially, but it still counts as sound effects. The Kylo Ren's lightsaber, when that thing like turns on,
I know you can really hear it.
It sounds like thunder.
Yeah,
you know? Like, that's awesome. Like
that's what
just the sound itself sounds so cool. It sounds erratic, like him.
That you think they would do more with that, like make it pop more. But I just didn't get that feeling from it.
There was something that truly stood
and you
out.
went to see it in like IMAX, right? So like like that feeling of like whoa.
Yeah, I mean,
it still didn't pop out at you.
I saw both of them in IMAX. I saw both of them in regular
Oh, okay.
theater,
I didn't know you saw both of them in IMAX.
I mean, so I saw them in regular theater first, and then I went to IMAX for both of them. And the Rogue One, actually, we went to go see it together, right?
We did.
Yeah,
we all went.
We didn't go see it in IMAX. We did not go to see it in IMAX.
So we went to go see regular movie theater first, and then we were all kind of like, it was alright, you know. It was.
I didn't care for it that much.
It wasn't great, but
I'm not gonna lie.
because it's trying to be its own thing too. It's not supposed to. It's not trying to be a Star Wars film exactly. It felt like a World War II film with the Star Wars skin.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Battlefront is Battlefield with the Star Wars skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what it felt like. Now, when I went to go see it in IMAX, it was better. So it actually, I think, if you're gonna go watch it in IMAX 3D, it's meant more for like this bigger screen, louder music, you know, just everything. So when it comes down to it, of course, IMAX 3D is gonna be more immersive, and it's gonna be a better film altogether. And it does add on to the film. But I hear that a lot actually. A lot of people I talk to, especially like in my comment section and stuff, they'll be like, I saw it twice. The first time I wasn't too impressed. The second time I liked it more. So I think it might be because you're not really trying to
like
examine it all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you already know what's kind of happened, so you kind of just like let it go, and you can absorb more of what's going on in a sense. So I would say, yeah. But when it comes down to it, sound effects. You said.
Yeah, Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Awakens.
So Force Awakens wins all around. You guys vote right up here, up there somewhere. Let us know which one is better in the sound effects stuff. And if you guys have any specific stuff you want to explain, let us know in the comments below. All right, so we got that out of the way?
Yep.
All right, on to our next round. Number 3, the plot. So for our third round, we have the plot. Now the question is, which one is better? I think when it comes down to it, which one do I prefer? Which one do I think is better? Here's the thing. It's tough to say because The Force Awakens is essentially a film, one of the most important films of this like generation, if you know what I mean, because it's the reintroduction to Star Wars. Do you know? The last film we saw before this was Revenge of the Sith. Some people loved it. Some people absolutely hated it because, you know, it's a prequel, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like it, whatever. It all depends on how you feel. But I personally think that it did a good job at reintroducing. Sure, you could say that it is kind of a fan fiction of A New Hope.
Yeah.
A little bit here and there. Some people think more strongly of it. I kind of realize that, but they're playing it safe. You know, they wanted to play it safe for the return to Star Wars because it was a very important film for not just the series, but also for Disney. Do you know? So
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, I would have to say which one has the better plot. Honestly, I'm going Rogue One.
Really?
I'm going Rogue One.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. What is your why?
Mostly, here's the thing is, The Force, I've said this in one of my previous videos in the past, I would say The Force Awakens, but the thing is that it's just too similar to A New Hope. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is about it, like Rogue One is also an important film because it's its own film, but it can kind of tell its own story. Do you know? And essentially all it needs to do is end at A New Hope. Do you know?
Yeah.
So they can kind of do anything they want. So I think that it was more of a smaller story, especially compared to The Force Awakens with this giant planet and stuff like that. But the story is smaller, and I think it can do more with that small stuff. It doesn't have as much leading up to it. And one thing that I'm not a huge fan of The Force Awakens, besides the fact that it is very A New Hope-ish, is that it relies a lot on what its sequels are gonna do. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it leaves way too many questions unanswered, and I just feel like that's okay because, you know, they're trying to set up this 8th film in a sense, but I just feel like there's just too many. Do you know what I mean? Like, who are Rey's parents? Do you know? Who is Snoke? You know, did what they do to Phasma? Like, I'm wondering what they do to Phasma. Did they kill her? You know, they throw down the trash heap. I'm sure there's a book out there that explains it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
But I don't want to do a book. And so when it comes down to it, I gotta say, Rogue One has the better plot because I think that although I'd say I like Force Awakens maybe more as a film, I like what it did with what it had. You know? So
Yeah.
it didn't exactly feel like it was playing it safe as much as The Force Awakens. So that's just my personal opinion, of course.
I want to hear what John has to say first because I think we are thinking the same thing, but I want to know where he's gonna go with this because I don't know. Go ahead, John.
What I don't like about Rogue One is that it's before a film has already been made, the plot's been established, and you have fixed plot points.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that people hate about the prequels. You have your fixed plot points, you have certain characters that you keep putting in danger, and they've got to make it through because they're alive chronologically later in movies that are already made. Same thing in the Clone Wars animated series.
Well, that's why they introduced a whole new crew. You didn't know if they were going to survive or not.
True.
So that's why that'd be my rebuttal.
But you also have, but the basic plot of the story in Rogue One was how did the Death Star plans get into the Rebels' hands? That's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Oh no, it's a story that didn't need to be told.
Yeah, it's a story that didn't need to be told. And don't get me wrong,
I'd say it's more clean.
It's a good story, don't get me wrong, but Force Awakens, like, they had more freedom to do with what they wanted, and it was, in my opinion, I think it was a better plot because they had that larger freedom to do what they wanted.
Okay.
Like, they didn't have set guidelines.
But see, that's true though. But then why did they play it safe? You know.
But I mean, again, as you were saying, it leaves those questions unanswered. It relies on the sequels.
Yes.
So I'm gonna lean towards The Force Awakens because although it does need those sequels, I like that they use the freedom, or that they have the freedom more to do what they wanted. I don't like having those like fixed plot points where they have to end somewhere, something has to happen. You like, because towards the end of Rogue One, you're sitting there, it's like, oh, is she gonna get those plans out? It's like, you already know she's gonna get those plans. She's getting those plans out.
You already know she's getting out.
Like, I don't know why they dragged that out as long as they did.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, but I think that they dragged it out because it was part of the story. You know what I mean?
Right, I get that.
I did not care for that movie that much. But that doesn't mean I didn't like it. I just didn't care for it as much. Like, if I ranked it on my Star Wars list, it'd be at the bottom. It'd be number 8.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be all the way at the bottom.
Wow.
Below the Clone Wars?
Attack of Clones?
Okay, maybe not the very bottom. Maybe not the very bottom. Let me rephrase that. Okay.
Like the keyboard warriors. Like,
it would be low.
Okay.
It would be very low. It would be very
They're
low.
about to destroy our...
It'd be very low. Let me rephrase that. It'd be very low. Now listen. I didn't care for it that much, but I do think it had a better. I do think that Rogue One had a better plot than The Force Awakens. My reasoning behind it is this. In Rogue One, we already knew it was going to happen. It was a film that didn't have to be made, but they made it. They wanted to tell a story, and like Nick said, it was very clean. It was good, and for a film that was made that we already pretty much thought we knew it was going to happen, there were a bunch of surprises.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, think about it. How many main characters died in Rogue One?
Pretty much all.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah, you're right.
How many main characters in any Star Wars movie all died?
Yeah, that's true.
None.
That's true.
That threw me off completely. I wanted to see at least one lightsaber battle in Rogue One because I didn't see any, and I was disappointed about that. They threw in Darth Vader in there. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
Not to mention him really duking it out and killing people and going ham, and then there at the end where you saw him like really fighting hard against everyone and killing everyone, and like, I'm sorry, but that part where he's just in the dark and you hear him go,
yeah.
and it just his lightsaber turns on in the dark and he just comes out at him. That was a big surprise to me. I didn't see that coming. Plus, I just like the storyline of it. You know, I love a lot of the actors in it. They all did a very good job. We gotta hand it to them. They did a very good job at acting in that movie. They played every part very well. Yes, you knew it was gonna happen, and they did drag on the whole, is she gonna get the plans out to him in time, a little bit, but that was more to tell the story of it. And I will say that, you know, they did a very good job at, like, with the robot K2.
Yeah, K2.
That was awesome. That was
CGI,
awesome.
because he was all CGI.
He was awesome. I'll admit the CGI on him was very good. They did a great job on him. Now, I like The Force Awakens a lot. It's one of my favorites. It would be ranked higher on my list of rankings for the Star Wars movie. What I don't like about the plot, for me, for The Force Awakens, was not only did it like leave a lot of questions unanswered, but it created new questions that were unanswered.
Yes.
That I did not like.
Yeah, that's like, yeah.
I left questions
I'm not a huge
unanswered,
fan.
and then it created more questions of it that were unanswered. I didn't even. Not only did they not answer the old questions we had, they made new ones that were questioning, which bothered me. I didn't like that. And
Yes.
there were some twists and turns in The Force Awakens, but let's be honest. When Kylo Ren is talking to his father Han Solo on the stage or on the platform right over that hole, I could totally see it coming that he was gonna kill him. I saw it coming. I mean, you kind of knew it was gonna happen.
You're kind of like, oh, it's working. You're like, oh, his pep talk's working. You're like, oh wait, no, he's gonna kill him.
No, it's totally
it's working.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
There's a giant pit below. He's gonna die.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna die.
There's a giant pit somewhere. Someone's falling in it. No.
Overall,
Rogue One had a better.
Rogue One had a better plot.
Yes.
I said Rogue One, Force Awakens. Boom. Rogue One won
It's
there.
amazing, you know. Rogue One wasn't one of my favorites, but it wasn't a bad movie. But it would be ranked lower on my
So we have 2 for Rogue One, 1 for The Force Awakens. Let's see if The Force Awakens come back. Let us know in the comments below, and also you guys can vote for yourselves up there. So, moving on from here, we have
right off the bat, The Force Awakens had better ones. I honestly believe they had better villains. Now, from the list you just gave us, first of all, I think there's more villains in The Force Awakens, if I'm not mistaken. There's more of them, and they were more interesting. They were more interesting villains. Like, Kylo Ren is one of my favorites. He's very interesting to me because he's young, powerful, fast, energetic. He killed his own father. That was awesome. Love that. Snoke, new guy to me. Didn't know who he was.
Well, I mean,
interesting.
He completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere.
That's a good point too. I like that.
He was completely out of nowhere. We don't know much about him. Yes, we're left answers untold about him.
And
but
there's gonna be books that will explain more about him.
Yes, but
we don't read books around these.
He's
parts.
very interesting though.
We're American.
He trained Kylo, which is very interesting. You want to get to know him more. You want to know how powerful he is. You see like this big image of him, and it makes him look all great and mighty and powerful, and you want to know more about him. So it made me very interested in him. I would say the general. He was cool. He yelled. He was all right. He was all right.
Yeah.
He's maybe one of my least favorites in the movie, but that doesn't matter.
I think he's essentially supposed to be like the new Tarkin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's supposed to be the new Tarkin, and this.
He was all right. He was a little interesting.
Phasma was supposed to be like Phasma was supposed to be Boba Fett,
Oh,
but now people like Traitor more.
Yeah.
TR-8R. They like
That's great. I liked him
more.
too.
Like he became the Boba Fett, which is weird of that movie.
but in Rogue One, I mean, everyone loves Darth Vader. Obviously, everyone loves Vader.
I mean, essentially, Kylo was supposed to be Vader. Phasma was supposed to be Boba. Snoke's supposed to be Palpatine.
Yes.
And General Huck's supposed to be Tarkin.
Compare
The
him to Rogue One.
categories. You know what I mean? That's why you put him down to.
Yeah.
So.
What was I saying? Oh yes. And in Rogue One, the villains, they just didn't seem that threatening to me, I guess. Yes, Darth Vader's all powerful and mighty, but you only saw him near the end.
Like he didn't really have a presence in that.
No, he didn't have a presence at all, except near the end, basically. You didn't see
He
a lot
was a
of him.
villain just for like the very end. But like you couldn't say he was actually like a villain the entire film.
Exactly.
No, he was just a driving force.
It was cool to see his castle though. I liked that.
That was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that was very cool. Yeah, but you didn't see much of Vader though. That's the problem.
A lot of the villains took a back seat behind Krennic. Like Krennic was like the villain of that film.
He was the main guy. I like him.
The back seat.
I like
Krennic
Krennic
because they're
a
the
lot.
bad guys in the later episodes. You know what I mean? So it's kind of okay if you want to do that.
I feel like as the movie went on, like his like modes just became more like desperately driven. Like, oh, I need to do this so I can live. Because otherwise, if I fail, Vader's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
He was becoming more scared of Vader than he was wanting to, complete the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
And then you have Snoke. He's all that big, bad, mysterious, Emperor.
He'll clearly have a bigger presence in the future. Like that's what.
Yes.
Like
he's like he's going to
do something. At some point.
He's going to be.
He'll do something. It's coming. It's coming.
We don't know what it is yet.
He's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Out of the 3 main villains, because like I feel like the general was just like he was just
there.
Yeah, he was just there. Like Snoke, Phasma, and Kylo. I feel like Phasma was just like the one that was.
She was so underutilized.
Yeah, like she was set up in the beginning to
underutilized.
be this
Something
like badass
serious,
stormtrooper that was gonna kick a lot of butt, but then again she got overtaken by Traitor.
Yeah. She got beat by Traitor.
Yeah.
I mean, Phasma was so underutilized.
Yeah, she could have been a much bigger character. She got underutilized. Yeah.
So you'd say Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I didn't think I was gonna like Krennic at first. I ended up liking Krennic's character because of, like, a good example of what you used was the fact that he had like this mission at first, but then like as things started turning, he's like, oh crap, I kind of have to like keep myself alive to allow this like mission.
Right.
I prefer to keep myself alive more than finish this mission now. You know what I mean? Especially when Tarkin like betrays him. I love Vader in that too. Love seeing his castle. That was awesome seeing that. That's actually from the Legends or the EU. It was the EU, but now it's the Legends, and essentially they took that from there and they put it into the canon. So I love when they take stories or events or
snippets
places
of other places. Yeah, I like that too.
From like the extended universe that was originally established, but when Disney came in, they essentially erased everything except for the main core films and a couple other stuff that was in between there. So it was nice to see that. I was glad to see that. But when it comes down to it, Vader was more just there because he was part of the timeline. Do you know what I mean? Like Vader was a thing in A New Hope, and you know, Empire and Return of the Jedi. So they kind of had to be like, well, we have Vader, let's use him. You don't make a movie and not put Vader in if you can use Vader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Did like Tarkin though. Tarkin was pretty cool. He was menacing. He was creepy looking. So it was good. Like that's what Tarkin's supposed to be. He's supposed to be. Yeah, well, essentially, yeah. But he's supposed to be menacing. Do you know what I mean? You're supposed to be afraid of him when you're talking to him. So, you know, they say he was the one. He's the one who holds Vader's leash. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and you can see that in A New Hope. So I like that. But when it comes down to it, Krennic is essentially the only true villain in that film.
Yeah.
Those guys are kind of affecting Krennic to be a villain. Where in The Force Awakens, you got Snoke, who's there, and he's this overreaching presence. We don't exactly know who he is. And then we have Kylo, and well, I guess you could say Phasma as a villain, but
yeah,
she didn't get used.
She wasn't used.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll admit that. The Force Awakens underutilized her.
I do think,
but I still like that she was a villain, and that they still used Kylo and Snoke and even the General. You know, I still like him. Still really like him.
Yeah, I mean,
he wasn't my favorite, but he was still great.
Even he was essentially underused too.
A little
bit.
But yeah,
you can tell there's something for the future for him too. So I gotta say, when it comes down to it, I'd say The Force Awakens.
Thank you.
So we all say Force Awakens. Force Awakens wins this round. There we go, 2 and 2.
Yep.
Rogue One 1-2. Force Awakens 1-2. That means we're down to our final round. Let us know, vote ahead, which one is better, villains wise. So
I'm excited to see who's gonna win.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Yep.
So here we are, round 5, and this is gonna be the tiebreaker. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Yep. Let's go.
This is gonna be the permanent list. Which one is better, Force Awakens or Rogue One? So if you ever have that question, we're about to answer that for you right now. But of course, you can let us know in the comments below, and we will see what is really better. Ready?
Okay.
All right.
We're jumping right into heroes.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Heroes.
Starting with Cykotech.
Rogue One probably has like the better heroes. K2 is probably like one of my most favorite characters in Star Wars. Like it, you can't not like him. Jin and Cassian, like they have the like motive through the whole film to complete the mission. Like they know what they want to do, and they're going to do it at any cost, as shown at the end of the film with their untimely demise.
Yeah.
Whereas like Poe, yeah, he's one of the like lead rebels. He's like one of the ace pilots on the rebel fleet. He has the same motives as everybody else. But like I feel like Finn is just like his whole motives is like, Rey, no, like hi Rey, and then Rey's just kind of like, what's the Force? She's
what's the Force? Oh wait, I can mind trick people like nothing.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They're killing him, and then they're gonna kill me. Oh my god!
Yeah, I feel like that's like her whole motive through the film. Like
the Force Awakens characters are impacted more because they have 2 more films to kind of elaborate on their characters.
Like,
so it is kind of tough to really which way you want to look at it. But we're looking at just a pure one film, like how they look at it. So
right.
It's tough. It's tough.
I feel like the heroes in Rogue One are more heavily driven towards what they need to do because again, they need to finish it in one film, otherwise they fail.
Yes.
So I am gonna have to give it to Rogue One for this one.
I really liked Rey, Finn, and Poe. I did, but I have to give it up to Rogue One. Yeah.
You can't really give it to like Episode 7 because there's so much things that are just missing. You know, there's pieces that are missing, and they rely too much on the sequels.
Yes.
Like we keep saying.
Yeah.
It's so true. So.
Also, I just want to say about Finn, he just seemed like a little bit of a coward, you know, at first.
Yeah, no, his whole motivation for the film was like, Rey!
It was like run, and he was always running. He was always running. There was no, oh, let's turn around and fight him. He
it's
kept
like,
running away.
No, it's like someone's.
He was kind of a coward.
He was a coward.
It's like, I need a weapon to fight. And it's like, you have a weapon, you stupid idiot. Yeah, but most dangerous weapon points at face.
You got Rogue One. You said Rogue One. I love the Force Awakens cast. They, you can tell it's more for them. We keep saying that the entire review. We're saying about how there's just not enough in the Force Awakens to hold itself up by itself. Essentially, a lot of people love it, but when it comes down to it, although I would say the main cast of the whole main cast of Rogue One seems like they kind of became friends a little too quick. Do you know what I mean? Like it seemed a little rushed.
Yeah, it seemed
a little rushed.
It seemed forced.
Especially those two guys, especially the two Chirrut and his friend. Do you know what I mean? Like they kind of jumped down to the Rogue One crew a little too quick. I feel. You know, it was kind of like you didn't really have to be with them. Why are you there with them?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
That was kind of different. But I mean,
it's like I get it. You're with them because you didn't want to die.
Yeah. But then you didn't have to stay with them.
Yeah, it's like there came a point when you could have left when they're at the Rebel base on Yavin 4.
Yeah.
Like you could have left there.
So I'd say that whole relationship between them is a little rushed. But when it comes down to it, I felt like the Rogue One crew is more fleshed out. And like I said, over and over again, it is because the Force Awakens is relying on what's going to happen in the future too much. So. And that it ultimately just gets faltered because of that. So I'd say Rogue One too.
Alright.
So we got 3 for Rogue One, 2 for The Force Awakens. So I guess you know what that means. Rogue One wins.
Rogue One wins.
There you go, guys. So there we are. Let us know in the comments below. Also vote for which one do you think is better up there. And we'll see how it goes. And maybe I'll do a video in the future just kind of reviewing those actual rankings. We'll actually see what you guys vote. So you hear what we voted. Rogue One is the better film. So let's hear what you guys think. The comments below, and then you're voting. He'll have a channel eventually.
Eventually, so, I know.
Let him know in the comments below.
He keeps telling me that you guys are asking me. I'm too lazy to work on this. I keep telling myself
I want to make a
it.
YouTube, but I'm probably not going to because unfortunately I don't have time. But
I have time.
I don't.
I have time.
I work too much, but I like to support YouTubers rather than make my own. So that's what I do.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I support.
I won't complain about that. But yeah, so if you guys want to see a video from Cykotech or even BigPeif, let them know in the comments below. But that's it, guys. Thank you all for sitting here for, I think it's going to be about an hour video, maybe a little less than that. So thank you all for chilling with us. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos. If you have any future ideas for another video, let us know in the comments below. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Peace.
See ya. All right.